Hello and welcome to Comic Drake, where I talk about comic books, so my name is Drake. The Green Lantern Corps is an organization that has been around for billions of years in the DC Comics continuity, and it is known throughout the entire universe. But who were the first members to be recruited? What's their story? Well, today, let's take a look. The Green Lantern series coming out of DC Rebirth has added a lot of new elements to the Green Lantern mythos, including a new origin for the Corps as a whole. Now, as many of you might know, the Green Lanterns were created by the self-proclaimed Guardians of the Universe, who took it upon themselves to police, well, the entire universe. Now, I'm sure that many of you are also familiar with the Guardians' first attempt at a police force, the Robotic Manhunters, that went off programming and destroyed an entire space sector. Although the Green Lantern Corps that we know and love today was a replacement for the Manhunters, the Guardians actually tried them out before them as well. You see, 10 billion years ago, a future human from an alternate universe named Volthoom appeared before the Guardians. Volthoom's world was destroyed, and he used an invention of his own called the Travel Lantern to cross space, time, and the multiverse itself in order to find a way to save it. Volthoom was an expert regarding the science of the emotional spectrum, and his Travel Lantern was even powered by it. By working with Volthoom, the Guardians were able to create the very first power ring and its matching power battery, the latter of which was put into Volthoom's chest. This ring could harness the entire emotional spectrum and turned Volthoom into the first Lantern. However, the more he uses the ring, the more mentally unstable he grew. One of the Guardians, Raimi, looked into the future where he saw that in trying to save his planet, it turns out that Volthoom himself was the cause of its destruction. Hoping to prevent this future from taking hold, Raimi told Volthoom what he saw, causing the first Lantern to go on a rampage. Volthoom was a force to be reckoned with, and to combat him, the Guardians needed help. Raimi destroyed the Travel Lantern and used it to create the first 7 Green Lantern power rings, rings that could only wield green willpower, which the Guardians deemed to be the most stable of the emotional spectrum. These rings were unleashed on the universe to find bearers capable of overcoming great fear, and the first bearer was found on the planet Galactica. Aletha is a new god of the Third World, a direct precursor to the new gods of Apocalypse and New Genesis, that we know today as the Fourth World. The second ring went to Zakran Zaran, a white Martian who trained for years after his village was slaughtered by thieves. Third was Tyranar the Mighty, a thief from Tamaran. Yes, that is the exact same world that Starfire is from. It's been known for a long time that Tamaranians are descendants of felines, but this is one of the first real times that we've gotten a look at ancient Tamaran. Next up is Kaja Dox of Yad Kalu. Based on her name and home planet, it appears that she is an early ancestor of Vildrox, aka Brainiac. Then there's Colleen, the first plant elemental of the planet Alistair, who was recruited by the Ring almost as soon as she was born. After that came Brill from the planet Grinda. They were part of an artificial intelligence known as the Hive. Brill was given a robot body to become isolated from the Hive in order to explore the universe, and almost immediately became a member of the Green Lantern Corps. The final member was Jan Al, one of the first off-world colonists of Krypton, giving us the first Kryptonian member of the Green Lantern Corps that we have ever seen in the mainstream DC Comics continuity. This first iteration of the Green Lantern Corps was called together on Earth, where they were greeted by a recording of Raimi that informed them of Volthoom and his increasing madness. They didn't really care, and almost immediately began fighting one another to either take their colleagues' rings or tried to straight up leave so that they could use their rings for themselves. Thankfully, 2 Green Lanterns from the modern era were accidentally but conveniently brought from the future to intervene, Jessica Cruz and Simon Baz. This pair tried reeling these newcomers in, but that didn't work. In fact, it took Jan Al overloading her ring, which killed her in the process, to get everyone to shut up and work together. Now, Simon's ring was destroyed by Volthoom before they went back in time, but his experience was invaluable in training the recruits, and although Jessica was still new to being a Green Lantern in the first place, she also helped out quite a bit in the one-issue training montage. Despite not mastering their rings, the Corps attacked Volthoom, and paid the price with the first Lantern slaying Colleen almost instantly. Followed by Aletha, only 2 pages later, and then Brill, another 2 pages later. If you can't tell, it is very hard to be invested in some of these characters when they were basically just cannon fodder. Anyway, the Lanterns were being creamed, but Simon Baz stood up to Volthoom even though he didn't even have a ring. However, right before being killed, the 4 rings of his fallen comrades chose Simon as their bearer. With this power, the Lanterns were able to turn the tide of battle. But Volthoom was still a force to be reckoned with, and he even managed to kill Zakran before being subdued by the remaining Lanterns. Upon his defeat, Volthoom was taken prisoner by the Guardians, who also confiscated the original Green Lantern power rings. And although Simon and Jessica were able to travel back to their own time, only 2 of the original 7 Lanterns were left alive, Kaja and Tyranar. Their fallen teammates were honored in the Vault of Shadows, a mausoleum created to house the original Lanterns' bodies. Tyranar was given back his rings in order to act as a guardian of the vault, protecting it from thieves, while Kaja, on the other hand, went back to her people, where she lived as a great scientist until she also died of old age and had her body kept in the Vault of Shadows. Back in the present, Simon and Jessica encountered Tyranar, who it turns out had been keeping his ring for 10 billion years just so he could give it to Simon, who he knew did not have a ring of his own, even at the expense of his own life. Before Tyranar fell, though, the present-day Raimi was able to use Jessica and Simon's power rings to buy Tyranar another 1,000 years of life, which he can apparently do with green energy. Regardless, he recruited the ancient Tamaranian to help him track down the remainder of the original Green Lantern power rings, so that Volthoom, who is now free again here in the future, couldn't use them for his own plans. And as of the time of this recording, that is all we know. I really wish that I had more information for you, but as of the time of this recording, this is basically all that we have. But if you like what you've seen here, then I highly recommend picking up the Green Lanterns book and reading about it for yourself. It's probably one of the coolest things to come out of DC Rebirth. But hey, if you liked this video, then why not consider subscribing, or even watching another one? In fact, if you liked the idea of a Kryptonian Green Lantern, then you should check out the video that we did on where Krypton's Green Lantern was when it blew up. It's a really interesting story that I'm very surprised hasn't made a bigger splash in the mainstream continuity. So yeah, hope you like that. Maybe I'll see you next time.